Hi guys, SkyPoint here. Now, this morning the devs have dropped a giant patch on the game once more, and this time the main focus is the World Eaters. The devs are actually trying to get away from the Warlord only style of playing the World Eaters, basically Aaaargh or bust. Although Erlin as well gets played a fair bit with mostly a focus on just having him on the board. But anyway, what they're trying to do is make the troops for the World Eaters a much more viable and fun way to play the game. They are also changing a bunch of other cards, and I'm actually going to start with some of those first. What they said is that they're trying to tone down a couple of problematic cards. So let's get into it, and the first of these, which has seen a change, is our new friend Tacitus Proctor. So when Proctor first came out, he was very weak. In fact, if you ever browse the devs Facebook page, pretty much anytime the devs posted anything about the game, they would be mobbed with a bunch of people screaming, "Buff Proctor." Well, the problem is that they listened, and he got a really powerful buff, which before was that he would, at the end of his turn, give any vehicles to his left or right +1 attack and +1 health. That's now being changed to an ability which says Relentless, give +1 attack and +1 health to any friendly vehicle in play. Overall, this is still a bit of a nerf. One of the things which made Proctor so powerful earlier was that he could drop vehicles in his turn, and at the end of his turn, the extra health those vehicles would get would make them extremely difficult to be able to destroy. Well, it could make them very difficult to destroy. For example, moving vehicles from 7 health to 8 health meant that they could no longer be destroyed by hitting them with a crack grenade and then your Warlord, for example. On the other hand, so this isn't necessarily a pure nerf, because now if Proctor manages to get board control and starts filling up the board with vehicles, he can become more dangerous than ever. So there's a little bit of upside for him, but overall it is a nerf just because it's going to be harder for him to keep vehicles on the board during the enemy turn now. Anyway, I do like the change. I was finding Proctor was too difficult to play against, so yeah, this one gets a thumbs up from me. Okay, let's go to the next one, and this is a giant change, and if they had made this a year ago, it would have made people very unhappy. But Goldstone's Hunters, normally considered to be one of the most essential cards to get for your collection, and which a lot of people have made sacrifices for to try to make sure they had enough gems or whatever to be able to get him. Goldstone Hunters is getting a nerf. It's a very minor nerf, and what you'll see here is that it doesn't have fast by default anymore. It only gets fast if you have other troops. That means this is really a nerf for the Warlord only style of play, like Aaaargh especially, or arguably Jagatai Khan, because Goldstone Hunters cannot be used as essentially a 3 energy, 3 damage tactic anymore. And especially for Aaaargh, this is more severe, because before Aaaargh decks used to have 4 units in them which had fast. They had 2 Goldstone Hunters and 2 Speeders. And with those, Aaaargh could drop those in late game on the board and spend a couple of cards buffing them up to massive attack and finish the enemy off. And now he can't use Goldstone's Hunters for that anymore, so he's down just to the Speeders being his only reliable fast units, if you're going with that no troops build for Aaaargh. Anyway, so this is a slight nerf for most Warlords. You have to have troops on the board in order to get a benefit from Goldstone's Hunters, but for no troop or tactics Warlords, this is a giant nerf. Next up is one of the new cards in the game, Scrap Code, which no one was ever using before, because what Scrap Code did was say, pick a random card in the enemy hand. If it's a tactic, copy it. So they've changed it up a little bit now, so it's reveal a random card in your opponent's hand. If it's a tactic, make it cost 3 more until your next turn and draw a card. I still think that this is not that great, except it's a 1 energy draw a card move now, and that's actually very good economy wise. I always used to say that the default value of drawing a card is 2 energy. That's what Horus's ability does. And so this is actually now one of the cheapest ways to cycle through your deck. And if you're lucky, you might just get a tactic which the enemy needed. You might force the enemy to increase the cost of a tactic he needed in the next turn. But now being 1 energy and drawing a card, I think this will see a lot more use. Alright, next is coming up Aaaargh I. Now this one actually caught me by surprise, because I thought Aaaargh I was going to be getting a big nerf because of the Magnus the Jerk move, where Thousand Suns players are able to drop Aaaargh Or and then use the Aaaargh I to pull him back in the same turn. Oh wait, no. This has been... Oh, I misread this. This is the giant nerf I was waiting for. Okay, it no longer replaces your Warlord ability. It's a one-off card. So you cannot do the Magnus the Jerk move anymore. Okay, that's much better. It's actually arguably too much of a nerf. Because 2 energy to bounce a troop back to your hand once is not that great. 2 energy for Survivor 2, I guess. Like, it's like a heal effect. But honestly, this is now what I would have expected from a rare card, not a legendary, even at this cost. I don't know, like, I would have preferred seeing Aaaargh I as like coming in maybe at 2 energy and then having an ability where it returns to your hand but increases its cost by 3 each time you use it or something like that. This is a little bit too nerfed. I think they went over the top here, and Aaaargh is going to stop seeing play. On the other hand, I am very glad that that game style where it gets used to repeatedly bounce Aaaargh Or forever and ever and ever is not possible anymore. Alrighty, what do we have next? We get, yes, everyone's least favorite card except for Ruinstorm players. The Sealed Pact has been nerfed. Sealed Pact was an absolutely lethal card because before, Ruinstorm players could just wait and try and hold out the game until the last turn and then suddenly fill up the board with powerful demons and win the next turn. Well, with the Sealed Pact, it's been tuned down a little bit. They'll still get a bunch of powerful demons, hopefully, but they only get 3 of them, not 5. So it's been, I think now it's in a good place. It was overpowered even for 10 energy before, and I think now it compares well with similar cards. So good change over here. I like it. And the final one, and also one which was long overdue, is a nerf to the White Scars. Pretty much ever since the card came out, people were complaining about targetized sacrifice, saying that it gave White Scars too much of an advantage, that they could just easily remove the board, and it was overpowered. And the devs have done a very interesting change here. They've kept pretty much all of its existing ability, but they've added one more sentence to it now. So it doesn't just return all troops to the deck and reduce the cost to 0, but for each enemy troop, deal 2 damage to your Warlord. This is fantastic. Honestly, the card before wasn't so much targetized sacrifice as targetized get out of jail free card. Basically, you had almost no downsides to just being able to bounce back a whole bunch of cards into the enemy deck, and there was no real element of sacrifice in it at all. Whereas now, there definitely is. If you try to bounce back an entire board full of enemies, yes, you can do it, but you will be taking 12 points of damage to your Warlord. That's a sacrifice for you. I think this card is still going to see a lot of use, but it's changing now. People are going to mostly use this to try and delete 1 or 2 expensive units from the board, as opposed to waiting for the enemy to fill up the board and then screwing them over by sending everything back into their deck. This was a great change, and even though I loved playing this card, I was playing White Scars quite a lot, I do recognize that this is a good move and it was well needed. Alright, but with that, we get to go on to the main event, the World Eaters changes. So let's take a look at those. So the first is Shabran Dar, who finally gets what people have been saying for a long time. He needed 35 health, so thank you. But they've also made, they've kept his interesting part over here. When damaged during your turn, actually they've changed that as well. So before he used to deal damage through, I think it was the enemy warlord or a random enemy, anytime he was he took damage during an attack. So when he's attacking or is being attacked. And now whenever he gets damaged during your own turn, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. We're going to see more of what this will involve in a moment. But then the other side here is his active ability has been changed. Before it used to be deal 1 point of damage to the enemy warlord and 2 points to neighboring troops, which made it very hard to use troops against him. And now it's just deal 1 point of damage to 3 other random units. So the good news is he's not like Karn. He's not going to be damaging himself with this ability. But the bad news is he might still damage your own troops. So you probably want to use this before you actually attack, before you drop any troops onto the board. And of course this is all done simultaneously. So what this means is that if the enemy has only 1 unit on the board, meaning it's just the enemy warlord, you will not use this ability to be able to do damage 3 times to him. It's deal 1 damage to 3 other units. So up to 3 units will take 1 point of damage each. Alright, so that's Shabran Dar. Let's go and get into the changes. So Keth Bikes before used to be a rally ability where you put them on the board to deal 1 point of damage to all enemies. Now that's changed to all other units. So what that's going to do is it will trigger Shabran Dar to deal 1 point of damage to 3 other units. So that's going to be 2 points of damage in total you do to the entire board when you drop Keth Bikes and you have Shabran Dar. Well, not the entire board, but you know what I mean, right? Shabran Dar will then trigger more damage. He might even kill the Keth Bikes, which would be kind of funny to watch. Alright, next up is Lork Squad. Let's take a look at these guys. So their ability has been tweaked slightly. Before their rage ability was... Oh, wait a moment. They also have a stats change. Hello. They no longer have 4 health. They've gone up to 5 health for the same energy cost. That's great. But their rage ability now is deal 1 damage to a random unit from each player. Oh my god. Oh no. The devs didn't think this through. Imagine this. On the board, there's just Shabran Dar, the enemy warlord, and Lork Squad. So Lork Squad attacks the enemy warlord, taking damage. That triggers their rage to deal 1 damage to a random unit from each player. They damage the enemy warlord. They also damage Shabran Dar, which triggers Shabran Dar's ability. Deal 1 damage to 3 other random units. He damages the enemy warlord, but he also damages Lork Squad, which triggers Lork Squad's rage ability. Deal 1 damage to a random unit from each player. Lork Squad damages the enemy warlord, also damage Shabran Dar, which triggers Shabran Dar's ability. Oh, it just goes down this funny circle. Of course, that relies on Lork Squad's ability not damaging themselves, because that's possible. But of course, if they damage themselves, that's probably going to trigger their rage, so it just triggers on and on from there. I'm going to put together a Shabran Dar deck because I think this will be funny. Alright. So, that's going to be embarrassing. That'll be fun to watch. Alrighty, what else do we have here? Monument to Khorne. So Monument to Khorne used to give neighboring troops, I think, +2 attack, as well as, I think, Berserk to all your troops. Now what it does is you put it on the board. Every time it takes any damage, it gives +1 attack to all of your other troops. But, look at this. You can spend 1 energy on it to deal 1 damage to all units in play, including itself, which will trigger its rage. By the way, it'll also trigger Shabran Dar, who will then deal 1 point of damage to 3 other random units, which might go back and trigger Monument to Khorne to give +1 attack to all your other troops. Alright, that's a rage party going on there. Interesting. Alright, what else do we have? We have Hidden Strength. So this is a card no one ever played before. I can't even remember what its ability was. Now it's actually handy. Give +1 attack and +1 health to your other troops. Now that's important. If all those rage pings are deleting health from your other troops, you want hidden strength to actually heal them back up a bit. So that's going to be that's a good move there. I like that. What next? We have got more Terminators. So these guys saw very occasional use, still not much. Now what have they done over here? They have one more thing. On hidden strength, they also increased its base attack. It used to be 3, now it's 5. Anyway, more Terminators. Deal 1 point of damage to a random unit that includes warlords from each player whenever they take damage. Oh no, that's the same thing. More Terminators, and it's just an upgraded version of Lork Squad without Unstoppables. Unstoppable, and they'll have the same thing with Shabran Dar, just triggering so many pings of damage. Alright, what else do we have here? Goust. Now, Goust was hardly ever used before. Their rage is now gain +2 attack and frontline. That's not bad. It's a frontline troop who gets tougher and tougher and tougher the more you beat it. So unless you kill Goust in one turn, you're in trouble. Not bad. Next up, Battle's Glory. It used to be 8 health, 9 attack. Sorry, not 8 attack, 9 health. It's just had a bit of a buff now to make it more usable. It's 10. It's got frontline and shield, coming in still at 10 energy. Little expensive for what it is, but it does have front lines. That is helpful, so maybe it's possible for use. Interesting. Honor's Retribution, their Predator tank. So, oh, this is great now. When another friendly troop takes damage, deal 2 damage to random enemies. When all of those pings from Rage are going on, this thing could be gunning down the enemy. That could make life interesting. And the final one, again, a slight nerf well needed, is to Armor of Mars. So Armor of Mars used to be heal 7, then return to your deck and draw a card. And now it's just been nerfed slightly. So it only will be a constant cycling health boost if your enemy warlord has 10 health or less. This should make it easier to also kill some of those tough World Eater warlords, because they can no longer reliably sit there healing up while their health is in the teens. They're probably going to sit on Armor of Mars and try and save it for when they're low on health, but that might also take away from some of their other options. So overall, I do like this change. I felt Armor of Mars was just a little bit too frustrating to face, even as a legendary card. Alright, well that's all of those changes. I'm trying to decide next about whether I want to actually build a Shabran Dar deck and try it out, or hit up that sweet new event with its tanks. Let me quickly look at the event rewards, just talk about that quickly, guys. Both cards are not terrible. Tank Warfare, I think, is the weaker of the two, even though it is cheaper, because giving a bonus to just your vehicles in play, not necessarily that great, although Tacitus Proctor is looking at this and salivating mechanical oils. But Viral Outbreak is the one that I really like, and that's mostly because I like playing Mortarion, and Mortarion will love this card. Alright, anyhow, so that's everything we have here, guys. So yeah, interesting balance changes. I am looking forward to trying them out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you on the battlefield. Alright, thanks for watching everyone, and bye for now.